Good morning, all of our friends on YouTube.
Hey guys.
Hope that you are having an amazing week. It's been just a normal week around here.
Nothing exciting to report here. Maybe you've had a more exciting week than we have and you want to share it with us. Post it in the comments and let's hear what's going on in your life.
It's okay to have a week every once in a while that's like not much going on.
Yeah, it's just like go to work, come home, be with kids.
A lot of meetings this week.
Yeah, just normal stuff. It's all good.
Okay, we are talking about in-laws today.
Bum, bum, bum.
I just wish that we could live life without in-laws, don't you?
Your in-laws are the reason you married this.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, because without your in-laws, I would not even be alive. You owe
They're
your
not-
in-laws everything.
They're not the reason I married you.
They're the reason you could marry me. They're the reason that I am who I am. You're thinking it's a bad thing.
No, I have so much to say, but I won't.
I know. Okay.
Because we're trying to be nice
Thanks for being nice.
because of the episode. But next week, all bets are off.
You're back to normal Thomas again
Exactly. Back to normal
next week.
me.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
What do y'all think about your in-laws? Do you have a good relationship with your in-laws?
It seems like with in-laws, it's either, oh, my in-laws are amazing, or we have a terrible relationship. There's I very rarely hear, nah.
Yeah, just like indifference.
Yeah, it's usually one way or the other. So, all right, let's do this episode, babe.
What if I'm not ready?
I'm ready. And after this episode, I get a little bit of alone time with our third daughter, Abigail. Just me and her are going to spend a little time together. So I've got to get this episode done.
Which
so that
means
we can go.
you're leaving me, so I want this to last as long as possible so that you spend time with me.
You're so selfish.
Yep.
But I love you. All right.
If I was an oyster, I'd be shellfish.
Oh my, that was really bad. Listen, don't go off script. Okay? You can't be trusted.
I'm feeling feisty today.
Oh, great. All right. Come on, babe. This is why I should have been the person who intros us into the Family Meeting podcast, because I would have started a long time ago.
I know. It's all planned out.
Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys.
planned out.
I'm so sorry.
Gather round, everybody. It's time for a family meeting. The Family Meeting is a show that's all about family relationships. We're the Ostracamps. I'm Thomas. This is my wife. Ready to go.
Hello and welcome to our family. Welcome to episode 134 of the Family Meeting podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about in-laws.
Or as I have in my phone, outlaws.
Yep. It's literally outlaw dad and outlaw mom in his phone.
Yep.
Yes. We are going to talk about the relationship between yourself and your spouse's parents specifically, not just all in-laws, because I know that there's a lot of in-laws out there. Once you get married, you marry kind of into a family. And we're going to look specifically about your relationship with your spouse's parents today. And this can be a difficult relationship to navigate. Even people who are calm, sweet, relaxed,
Like
and
me.
easy to get along with. I'm not describing you at all.
It sounds exactly like me.
I am not describing you. But even these kind of people, they can have moments when it feels impossible to keep peace in relationships, because relationships are hard. That's why we have a podcast about relationships.
Yeah.
Because they're not easy. And so today we're going to give you 7 ways to show your spouse love by loving their parents. But first, we're going to look into it a little bit. So.
Okay. And I'm excited about this conversation today. I think it's going to be very helpful. But before we dig in, we want to invite you to join us for Relationship Refresh 2023 in Orlando, Florida. That's July 21st and 22nd. So just remember, 21, 22, and 23.
Wow. How did we make that work?
I'm amazing. That's what I do.
You are amazing.
But the cost is only $25 a person.
That really is a great deal for a retreat
And
or a conference.
we got a deal this year at the resort, the Point Resort, where we're staying. $95 a night for hotel room. Add taxes and fees and whatever
that's
into
unheard
that.
of.
But
yeah.
yeah, it was 150-ish, I want to say, last year.
Yeah, which was a good deal last year, but for whatever reason, we got a great deal. And I don't know if it's because we're returning or what, but we'll take it. And you should take it too.
So it's a great opportunity for you to invest in your marriage. You can go on Eventbrite and get those tickets right now.
Sounds awesome. I'm really looking forward to Relationship Refresh. It's always an encouragement to Thomas and I. We have a great marriage relationship. We truly do.
Excellent.
Like, this is not an act. And I know many of you are like, your marriage sucks. It's not an act. It really does. No, seriously though, like, God has really, truly blessed us and given us a great relationship. But even us having a great marriage relationship, we still find moments of difficulty in different things. And the Relationship Refresh really does help our marriage.
Well, and it is what it is because we put in time, energy, effort.
Yes.
We invest money and all kinds of stuff into our relationship.
Because our relationship is worth it.
Yeah.
You're worth it, baby.
So invest in refreshing your relationship.
Do you remember the old like commercials? I think they were in the 80s, maybe 90s. It had to be 90s because
you were born in 85.
Yeah, so I wouldn't remember anything past or before 90s. But because I'm worth it. It was like a shampoo commercial. Because I'm worth it.
If it was a shampoo commercial, I don't remember it.
I just want to say you're worth it. Okay.
Some days.
Hair or no hair, you are worth it. But you know what, Thomas and I. We are blessed and everything, but even we sometimes have problems in our in-laws relationship and the way we view kind of how to interact and things like that. So today we're going to talk about that.
And I think one of the problems that we see in the relationship between our spouses and their parents is that we tend to think the relationship is about us. And that's half true, but it's not the whole truth. The other half of the relationship is you and your spouse. Your relationship with your spouse's parents is about you showing love to your spouse. And when you treat their parents well, you are showing love to your spouse.
That's right.
But when you disrespect your spouse's parents, you are disrespecting your spouse. And there's more to it than just you getting along well with your in-laws. Your relationship with your in-laws affects your spouse's relationship with their parents greatly.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. And I mean, it is funny because sometimes we do, well, I should say most of the time we do just think everything's about us, right? Like,
oh yeah, we're totally selfish.
Yeah, just as humans, that's how we view every relationship. Every relationship is about me, you know? But there is more to it, so that's a good point. But we see in Genesis 2:24 that we are to leave father and mother and cleave to our spouse, or cleave or hold fast to your spouse, and we're supposed to become one flesh, right? So this means we no longer live at home. We don't have to obey mom and dad and answer to them in the things we do and say. Now it's about the team.
Yeah, it is about the team, and it can be a hard transition for some people, depending on how their relationship was with their parents. For some, it's easy. Like, I can't wait to get out of here and get away from this relationship or these relationships and start my own family. But for some that have a really good relationship with their parents and they're really, really close, that it can be hard to separate.
Yeah, and I mean, thinking back to like the beginning of our marriage, I don't think we've ever talked about this, Thomas, but what do you think it would have been like if when we got married at 18 and 22, if we had stayed in Iowa and lived in Cedar Rapids?
I think it would have been very difficult.
I think so too.
I think there would have been, we had problems anyway because it's a new relationship and we were young. But I think we would have had a lot different problems.
I agree.
And I think the relationship that we had with your parents might not be as good as it is today.
I agree, because I was so close to my parents. I mean, I still am. I'm very, very close to them, and it would have been really hard for me to, like, you know, as people say, leave and cleave. It would have been really hard for me to leave that relationship behind and be totally, you know, connected with you and all about our teammate, our team relationship. I think if we were closer.
Well, and because we were so far away from everybody, we had no choice but to draw into each other.
Right. Right.
So that was a good benefit of being far away. It had its downsides, but that was probably the best thing about being so far away is we were forced to connect and cleave to each other.
Yeah, we were. And maybe that's not the case for you. Maybe you have a spouse who is very close to their parents. You get married and you live across the street. I feel like a little bit of everybody loves Raymond there.
Yeah.
And things are a lot more difficult maybe in that relationship.
Well, and that's why we've talked about boundaries in the past and how important setting those boundaries in your other relationships are.
That's right. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But, it is about the team when you get married. It's no longer about you and your parents. Now it's about your new team, and your new team is you and your spouse, husband and wife. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't honor our parents and that we shouldn't honor our spouse's parents. As we read in the New Testament, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long on the land that God your Father gives you. So honoring your father and mother and your spouse's father and mother is a lifelong command from God. It's very important. Now, it doesn't mean that you obey them. Okay. You're no longer like getting your instructions from your parents, but you are honoring them. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that in this episode.
And that's a good distinction to make because, my mom and dad don't have the right anymore to come in and say, this is how you ought to operate your home and your family. Go clean your room. Lysandra tells me to do that now. So,
yeah, now I'm the one who you have to obey.
Exactly. But I still have a responsibility to honor that. That command never goes away, no matter how old we are, or how far we move away.
It is kind of funny to think about that. It makes me laugh because your mom and I will joke, and she'll say, "You spoiled him, you ruined him," and I'm like, "When I got him, he was spoiled. It's your fault."
Yeah,
we go back and forth with that. Okay, so we are talking about how to honor your father and your mother.
So, and how can we do that though?
Yeah,
that's kind of what we want to focus in on. We're going to share 7 things here. Maybe 7. Is it 7 or 5?
I thought it was 7.
Okay, because it says 5 here, so I'm looking at the.
Oh, I think it's 7.
I'm looking at the sheet.
I'm the.
I'm looking
typist?
at the notes, and there's a discrepancy here.
Okay,
so,
1 second. Should we go? Let's
it'll
find
be
out.
a
It's
surprise.
7. I knew it was
okay.
7. So at some point, I wrote
5,
the
and
wrong
then
number.
5, and you added 2. Okay.
I don't know. Honestly, who knows?
All right. So we'll dive into 5 plus 2 bonus.
We
numbers.
have done this before in an episode.
Yes, we have.
This is not my first mistake, you guys. This is where grace comes in marriage.
Math is tough. It can be hard.
Listen.
The 5, to be fair, the 5 key and the 7 key are pretty close to each other. So,
thank you. We're going to say that that's what happened.
That's not what happened because you spelled out the numbers and didn't put the numbers.
You didn't have to tell everyone that. Nobody else knew that, Thomas.
Okay. Let's see. We're going to talk about showing your spouse love and respect by loving and respecting their parents. So, 5 and 2 bonus. Here we go. First of all, and that is to give them time with your spouse. Talking about giving time to your in-laws with your spouse. And this shows so much love when you can share your spouse with their parents. And I all the time talk about wanting to spend time with Lysandra. In fact, as we talked to our YouTubers before we started recording this episode, I was sharing how I want to drag this out as long as possible.
This podcast episode.
So that I can spend time with Lysandra because I love that time with her.
And as soon as this podcast episode is over, I am taking Abigail, our 3rd daughter, out just for a little bit of time together, just the 2 of us. So I'm like, we got to get through this episode. Let's go. And he's like, I'm making it drag out.
But one of the things we learn in life, especially the more that our life goes on, is how valuable time is.
Mm-hmm. The most valuable commodity we have.
You never get time back.
Mm-hmm.
And so by allowing that time, and not just allowing it, encouraging them to spend time together, it says a lot. I mean, and I know that, when your parents come to town, whether it's for a quick visit or whether they're here for a few months in the winter, more than once they have thanked me for making sure that you had time to spend with them on a regular basis while
nice.
they're here.
I didn't know that. Good.
So
my parents are amazing.
You can tell it does mean a lot to them. Mm-hmm. They love you. They love you. Your spouse's parents love them,
right.
And they want time together too. So by encouraging and fostering and doing whatever it takes, to make sure that that happens, that speaks volume to your in-laws, but it also speaks volume to your spouse that, hey, you love them, you care about them, and it's important that they develop that relationship with their parents.
Yeah, and I love this about you. This is really important to me that you allow me to spend time with my parents. But like you said, it's not just allowed, it's encouraged. And I think about sometimes when maybe you're allowing your spouse to spend time with their parents, when they get home, are they going to pay for it? Like,
right, exactly.
Is it now, oh, well, you spent all this time with your mom and dad. Now I get to do whatever, or I'm going to give you the silent treatment because you were gone too long, or who knows, whatever passive aggressive crap you want to throw at them. But that's not good. I'm getting mad.
She is getting mad. She dropped the
crap
word.
Because I don't like that. It's not right. And Thomas does not do that at all, just to clarify in case anybody thinks I'm mad at him. He's not that way at all. When I get home from spending time with my parents, he's just as loving and wonderful as he is every other day.
Or if you're texting your spouse constantly, where are you at? What are you doing? When are you going to be home? And ruining the time that they have with their parents, you're undermining exactly what we're trying to talk about.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with you as a couple spending time with your parents or your spouse's parents. But it's really nice for your spouse to have a little alone time with their parents, just mom and dad, and hang out. It's awesome for their parents to have time with their child, their adult child. So just quickly try to put yourself in your in-laws' shoes. There is going to be a time when your kids are out of the house. They're gone.
Yeah.
They get married and they start having kids. And now you want to go see your child, right? Do you think that there are going to be some times when you want to spend time alone with your grown child? I think that I will. I will value that time with each of my daughters.
It depends on if they have kids yet.
What are you saying?
If they have grandbabies.
Then you'd rather spend time with them?
I don't know. I don't have grandbabies yet. I'm just thinking through this.
Yeah.
But there's definitely going to be times where I want to spend time with just my daughters and not whatever loser they married.
Yeah. So I guess grandparents out there are going to have to tell us, do you still want time alone with just your kids, or is it the grandbabies and that's it?
I'm sure that you do, but
so some examples though of how we do this, like when Thomas's mom comes to visit here in Florida, usually there's a couple of times when you will take her, just her, all by herself, to get ice cream.
Yeah, she loves the Waffle Cone.
Yes.
Which is an ice cream shop here in town. They're actually opening another one
in Jacksonville.
Yeah. So
if you're in Jacksonville, the Waffle Cone.
Yeah, you got to hit up the Waffle Cone. Great ice cream and just a great atmosphere. And she loves the squirrel bait. It's like chocolate ice cream with 86 different kinds of nuts or whatever's in there.
Or 4.
So she really loves that. I'll typically take her out to a meal too. Just the two of us.
Like at another time.
Yeah. We've gone to whatever that seafood place is a couple times. Red Crab.
Oh yeah, she likes it there.
Yep,
yeah,
she does like it there.
Yeah, so he'll take her to do things, and now we still do things as a family with grandma. Like the kids come, I come, and we have a great time with grandma when she comes to visit. But I make sure that Thomas and his mom have time alone together because it's important to her and it's good for him too. And they need that. They need to keep on connecting and keep on developing that relationship together.
Yeah, and my mom loves you to death, but she wants time with her son.
She wants time with her baby.
Yeah.
You're still the baby, you know? What can you do?
Now, what about with your parents? What are some things you do?
We will go out to coffee together in the mornings or have coffee at their house, either their house or our house.
The last few times you guys your dad found this breakfast place in Daytona he likes, right?
Yes. I don't remember what it's called.
Some sort of little diner.
It looks like you're walking into the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's very cute. And so we'll go and just the three of us will have breakfast together. It's usually early in the morning because then the day gets going and, you know, we've got a million things to do. So a lot of times it's coffee in the morning or we take walks too.
And projects at the house.
Yes. Projects
at their house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
those are ways that we spend time alone with our parents as grown adults. And there should be ways that you're spending time with your parents as grown adults. And you should let your spouse do that too.
So the first way is just to encourage and facilitate that alone time that they can have with their parents. And the second, for those of you who have kids, is give them time with your kids. And we just mentioned it a second ago, but that time with the grandbabies. your parents want to be around their grandkids, hopefully.
I don't know. What are your kids like? Ooh.
Exactly. But give them time. Give them that time. And this wasn't a problem for us because we only had family babysit. So we were always happy to send the kids to grandma's so we could have that time away. And
always.
There were times where our kids would go spend the night at my mom's house, and she would have different foods and stuff for them, and soda and all that kind of stuff. Candy, right? They called her Candy Grandma, and your mom was Pop Grandma, right?
Yep, because my mom always had soda for them, and your mom always had candy for them. So that it was, where are we going? Are we going to Pop Grandma's house
or Candy
Grandma's house? It was the cutest thing, and they came up with that all on their own.
And they watch movies and they would scrapbook and
yes,
do different crafts and all that kind of stuff. And then, they loved going up to Walker and spending time up there and playing on the little play set and walking up to the park. It's right up there, and riding bikes outside.
But even now, as teenagers, our daughters love to spend time with their grandmas and grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
Even now, like when your mom comes to visit, they'll take her for walks. They will watch
TV shows and movies.
Columbo with her.
Yeah.
Like the old movies, and then they'll laugh about it, and they play little pranks on each other. It's really cute. And they love to go off with my parents. My parents will take them to ice cream or, just to hang out with them. My mom likes to watch, what are those movies called? Like The Sixth Sense and like the movies with like
thrillers.
The twist at the end.
The thrillers.
They watch thrillers with my mom on like movies and stuff.
And they love to go over there and just spend the night over there.
Yeah, they'll spend the night.
They'll spend days over there. There were times
Yeah.
there where it was like I didn't see my kid for like 4 days.
Like, hey, how's it at Grandma's house? We're good. Like, okay.
And that was great because it was like we had our own time here at the house. And
it is hard for me to believe that there are parents who don't want their kids to spend very much time with their grandparents. Yeah. Because it's nice to have that break.
Well, and we do know people who their children use the grandkids as kind of a weapon against their parents.
That's
and
true.
It's such a sad situation.
Well, and there's situations where the grandparents do not respect the rules or the values that the parents have, and therefore it's really hard to send your kids over. So we do understand that, and that's tough too.
Yeah, but once again, same thing as time with parents. Working to facilitate that time with the kids.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so here's another one. Give them your time. So you are going to give your in-laws your time.
Okay, I was cool with all this until right now.
This one is written for Thomas, so please pay attention. You're going to want to take notes. Do you have something to take notes with, dear?
I forgot my pen.
This one may be a little bit more challenging, okay? We understand that. But spend time with your in-laws. Not the, cranky, I hate this, I want to die right now kind of time. Some of you, that's how you act around your in-laws. It's not pleasant for anyone. But rather all in, happy smile, participation, laughter, kindness kind of a time. Okay, that's the kind of time we're talking about. If you act like a jerk when you're with your in-laws, you're actually hurting the relationship, and it would be better for you not even to be there. Okay?
Yeah.
Did everybody catch
totally.
that? I feel like I should say that again. If you are acting like a jerk when you're with your in-laws, you're actually hurting the relationship. So just stay home. If you can't get yourself together enough just to be nice, okay?
Can't play nice.
Can't play nice, stay home. But what I would like to see everyone do is to spend time with their in-laws in a sweet, loving way. Okay? Get your act together, love like Jesus, and spend time with your in-laws. Okay? So,
well, and the more you invest in a relationship, the more you're going to get out of it. And
that's right.
For some people, the reason they don't really have a good relationship with their in-laws is because they haven't invested good time with them.
Yeah. Or they've tricked themselves into believing that they have, and they really haven't. So, maybe reevaluate that and just ask yourself, like, have you tricked yourself into believing, deceived yourself that, oh yeah, I've been great every time I'm around them, but have you really? What have you actually been like?
Ask your spouse if you've been good around them. They'll let you know what the real story is.
But hey, you got to be okay with the answer they give you. Like if they're going to tell you, hey, yeah, you've kind of been a jerk around my parents, then you got to accept that, apologize for it, and change the behavior. You can't punish them for telling you the truth. So a couple of ways that Thomas has spent time with my parents. Back when we were dating, my parents were really into golf, and Thomas kind of enjoyed it. I don't think it was like your favorite thing, but you would do anything.
I had never been golfing before I went with your parents.
Okay.
Like that was the very first time I'd ever been golfing. Yeah.
Okay. So so he would golf with my parents. I would sit in the golf cart reading a book.
Yep.
But like he and my parents were out there golfing and talking and like discussing the game. So that was really alone time with my parents.
And I remember the one course we went to was awesome. It was like right on the Mississippi River over on the Wisconsin side.
Eagle Point Park. Eagle Point Golf Course or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that. It was beautiful.
It was gorgeous.
I enjoyed spending time and playing golf with them.
Yeah. Thomas has also done a lot of fishing with my dad. He would come up to Minnesota when my dad would have fishing weeks.
Before we got married and after, yeah.
Yeah, both.
Well, I remember one time I went on a fishing trip with him. He was driving the bus, and we went up to Lake of the Woods up in...
Was that like a 3-day trip?
Something like that, 2 or 3 days, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was after we got married, and we went up and had a great time.
Yeah, it was a nice bonding experience for you. You have taken my mom to the movie theater several times. What movies did you see?
We used to hit up all the sci-fi movies as they came out. So like Star Wars, Star Trek... those sorts of things.
And for a while, when one of the Star Treks came out, my mom came over every week to watch Star Trek with you. Yeah. In our living room. And I like went and worked. I did dishes or whatever else. And you two would be in there watching Star Trek together. Sorry. I'm just laughing because it doesn't sound fun to me, but I'm happy that you guys had fun. And then you would always play cards and stuff with my parents. And now you spend less time with them because we see them less because we moved away. And so when they come to visit, it's a lot of time with me and with the kids. Yeah. You have less time, but you do always go over and play cards with them or whatever. So those are the ways that Thomas spends time with my parents.
So, and then Lysandra spends time with my mom doing scrapbooking, watching old TV shows. They're both very old souls, and so they like to watch the same shows, Murder, She Wrote, and whatever else.
I like Columbo. I'm all in for Columbo. Let's watch an episode.
Playing cards, taking her places. One of the things I think that has meant the most to me, I think, and to my mom is my mom has had some health issues, and there's been times where she's had surgery or whatever else, and she's spent time with her that way. And that kind of leads me into the number 4, and that is to give them help. And give your in-laws help.
That's right, because the older your parents get, the more important this one is, to give them help. Everyone needs help, and as you age, you need more and more help. So Thomas, he is not by nature a helper. Like
I am not.
He's not a servant. That's not his nature. He works at that, and I appreciate how much he works at that. So the ways that Thomas helps my parents is with tech.
All the tech stuff, yeah.
All the tech stuff. So it's like, why won't my printer work? And
phones, computers, their security system now.
Yes, you have set all that up, and then you also maintain it.
The internet at their house.
Yeah. So when the internet goes out at their Airbnb, Thomas is the one to go fix it. He does all that. You also do all the heavy lifting because you have this amazing muscular body.
This physique that is.
It's very nice. So he helps with all of the heavy lifting and all of that. Like when they got their house down here and they're remodeling it, Thomas came and tore out all of the carpet in the entire house, like 2,300 square foot of carpeting, and ripped it into pieces that the trash people would haul away.
Moved in all the furniture they bought.
Moved in all the furniture. Put it together, too. Put together furniture. He's the heavy lifter. And the demolisher. So he helps with that kind of stuff. And anything my parents need, though, I know Thomas would be there for them. And that means a lot to me.
And I just mentioned some of the health things that my mom's went through. Lysandra has spent nights in the hospital with my mom. She moved in with my mom to her apartment after her knee replacement surgery and cared for her around the clock. I mean, cooking, cleaning, shopping for her. and has just invested a lot of time that way, helping her out. And that means a lot to me. It means a lot to your spouse when they see you being loving and helping out their parents. And the older your parents get, as Lysandra mentioned, the more they need. And so we have that opportunity to show our spouse love by helping out their parents in whatever ways that we're able to. Lysandra is by nature a caring and a loving person. So she was exactly what my mom needed. My sister lives 4.5, 5 hours away. So she's not always available just to run down and take care of whatever my mom needed. And, obviously as a woman, my mom would prefer a woman around to help her out with some of the things that she had to have done.
She didn't want any of her 3 sons over there helping after surgery.
So there were certain things that we did, but, Lysandra carried the bulk of that help, and it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to my brothers and my sister too. That she was willing to do that, and it just shows it shows love. And number 5, and then we'll start to get into some of the bonus content. Number 5 is give them respect by seeking their opinion. So, talking about seeking the opinion of your in-laws. Now, remember, you don't have to obey them, right? So, if we're getting ready to buy a new car, my father-in-law is one of the people we talk to, and we seek his opinion, we seek his advice, and he's helped us, get our vehicles since we got married. Do I have to take that advice and listen to everything and do everything he says to do? No, absolutely not. I don't have to do everything my mom or my dad tells me to do. But one of the ways we respect them and honor them is by seeking their opinion. And this one can be difficult, especially for men, for younger men, I think. This used to be really hard for me when we first got married. And I'll be honest, I didn't always react the way that I should to my father-in-law's help or to his advice. But the older that I've gotten, the more I've learned how important his wisdom is and his experience and his advice. So maybe some of you guys that are a little bit younger could learn a little bit faster than I do, and it will help out that relationship with your in-laws and with your spouse as well.
Yeah.
And, because when we're young, we want to give off the perception that we have it all together and that we always know what to do. And it's just part of that insecurity in us. Or maybe we actually always feel we do know exactly what to do.
Some people are very confident.
But it's still okay to ask your in-laws' opinion. And like I said, it doesn't mean you have to do what they say, but including them in the conversation will show respect and honor. Or ask them what they did in this situation in their life. Hey, how did you handle this? And did that turn out well? Did it turn out negative? But just gathering that information, it goes a long way.
And ladies, it's okay for you to ask your mother-in-law how she would cook something or how she would do something. It doesn't mean you're weak or incompetent or you don't know how to handle your household. It just shows humility and respect to simply ask their opinion. This could be about child rearing, managing a home, balancing career and family, or, lots of other things. Whatever it is. I remember before we got married, Thomas's mom's meal that he absolutely loved that she would make was enchiladas.
Yes.
And so before we got married, I went over to his mom's house and she taught me how she made enchiladas. And I still make those for Thomas today. And especially when his mom comes to visit, I always make them because she likes them too. And so it's fine to, to ask those questions and seek their opinion and get their advice. Like Thomas said, there again, you do not have to take it. You don't have to do everything they tell you to do. But simply bringing them into the conversation shows that respect.
Well, and just by humbling yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's funny because For women, a lot of times the competition shows up in the cooking and the cleaning and the child care, child rearing and all that kind of stuff. And for men, it's more of fixing stuff, taking care of stuff. But listen, just humble yourself. Humble yourself. You're not in competition with your mother-in-law. Mother-in-laws, you're not in competition with your daughter-in-laws.
That's right.
They got married, and you want what's best for your child. And what's best for your child is have a great relationship with their spouse.
Yeah.
And if you're married, it's best for you that your spouse has a great relationship with their parents. Like, we're not on opposing teams here.
Right.
We're not in competition with each other. So seeking that advice and just being open to hear what they have to say, open to learning, getting that perspective.
Yeah.
Number 6 is give them words of affirmation. So your spouse should hear you say kind words to their parents.
That's good.
To hear things like, "Hey, great idea, Dad."
Maybe not everybody's there. I don't know. Are you there where you can call your spouse's parents mom and dad?
Yeah.
So maybe it's great idea, Mr. Gilchrist.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. We call each other's mom and dad, mom and dad. It's really funny when both of our parents are in town and we're like at the dinner table and I say something to mom and both of them look and I'm like, this mom.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of funny. Anyway.
Which mom are we talking to here? Which dad is it again? But saying those words, this food is delicious, Mom. Like hearing them say that, and that's not, it's not an affront on your wife,
right?
Not a competition, as we've already talked about. But hey, just saying those positive things, those encouraging things. They should hear you say, "I love you."
That's hard for some people,
and learning how to do that is so valuable, so important. Your spouse loves their parents, and there's really nothing they want more than for you to love their parents too. So using those words and saying them often, they go a long way. These are the kind of words of affirmation that we're talking about here.
Number 7, give them clear and reasonable boundaries. So this point, number 7, really applies to every other point, okay? This doesn't necessarily seem like it should be on the list, but it's actually quite important because you can't do all of the things that we've already talked about if there are no boundaries in place.
Sure.
So if your in-laws are all up in your business, they're popping over unannounced, they're saying inappropriate things to your kids, all that negative relationship stuff is happening, you can't very well implement other ideas like giving your children time with their grandparents or even spending time with them yourself because they haven't respected anything or the way you feel. And there can be so much tension and hurt where it's almost impossible to have a healthy relationship. So that's why setting boundaries is on the list. Setting boundaries is good for everyone. It's not like if you set boundaries, you're the policeman and they're the bad guy. Okay? Setting boundaries is good for everyone. Yeah. We all need boundaries. We need to know where we fit into each other's lives. And if your in-laws know the boundaries, then they can keep them. Okay? So maybe you haven't shared the boundaries. They've got to know the boundaries so that they can keep them. And if they choose not to keep them, it's time to have a loving discussion with them and your spouse about the boundaries. Now, we had an episode on this.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what number that was. I should have looked that up, but maybe we can find that and put that in the notes.
Well, and the one of the keys that you talked about is reasonable.
Yes, reasonable boundaries.
And I think a lot of times we don't have those conversations about boundaries because we just have a hard time. We know it's going to be a difficult conversation, right? And we just kind of want things to go smoothly, and but things like that don't get better on their own.
No, they don't.
Like, they don't just kind of work themselves out. Not if you're going to have a really good relationship. You have to be able to talk these things through. It's like, having to have a conversation with your parents about, hey, it's one thing when you're here on a week vacation. It's another thing when you're living here for 4 months.
Yeah, and we've had that conversation with my parents.
And so having to have that understanding of, when you're here for 4 months, we can't just drop everything all the time and spend 24 hours a day together like we often do when they're here for a short vacation.
Yep.
And so even just thinking about that that could be a difficult conversation depending upon your relationship with your parents or with their parents. But by having that conversation, that sets up the expectations and everybody knows kind of what's going to happen and gives us an opportunity to, respect each other's boundaries and everything else. So relationships are beautiful when boundaries are set up and respected.
Mm-hmm.
But if there are no boundaries, you eventually resent them.
Yeah.
This turns to bitterness where you may not even want to be around them at all. We talked about the Barones on Everybody Loves Raymond a second ago, and you just think about, I think one of the funniest things is they would often change up the intro, and one of the intros had to do with like him screaming, "They're coming!"
Yeah.
And so they're like shutting off lights and doing all this stuff to make sure like they can hide from his parents coming up, her in-laws coming over. And they're kind of making a joke about it, but for some people it's not a joke. Like
That's right.
It really causes a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot be angry with in-laws for something with which they didn't know you had a problem with.
Mm.
You have to tell them how you feel. It's unfair for you to be angry with them, resent them, or even be irritated with them if you've never told them how you feel or what the expectations are or what the boundaries are.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So let's put this into some quick examples. If your father-in-law makes jokes you find offensive, okay, you can't be angry at your father-in-law for making jokes that are offensive if you haven't told him they're offensive. So you would simply say in a loving, kind way, "Dad, I really don't care for those kinds of jokes. Can you refrain from talking that way around us?" That's simple. You're setting up a boundary in a loving way. If your mother-in-law gives candy and cookies to the grandkids right before supper, you can't get angry with her for doing that if you've never told her you don't want her to do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to say in a calm and loving way, "Hey, Mom, please don't give the kids treats before supper. I know you love them, but it ruins their appetite for healthy food that I've cooked for them. Just give them to them after supper if you wouldn't mind."
So grandma wants to be grandma, right? She just shows up and it's like fun, food, treat. That's the way I'm going to be. Like,
I know, but you're also going to respect our kids' boundaries.
yeah, but they're going to have to tell me first.
Yes, and I'm literally going to be going behind them like, "Tell your dad that you don't like that. He has no idea."
The boundaries. I need to know the boundaries. Until the boundaries been set, there are no boundaries.
That is how Thomas lives in our relationship. He is like the loophole setter. Like, "Well, you didn't tell me."
So
I have to tell him everything.
But you can't be upset at grandma for giving out candies and cookies before supper if you've never had the conversation.
Right. Now, if the boundaries are set and you've told them, no cookies before supper, and she's still doing that, so the boundaries now have been disregarded, you can remind once or twice, because sometimes it does take us a little while to break a habit, right? So maybe remind once or twice in a nice way. But if it's an ongoing boundary breaking, you're going to have to schedule a more serious appointment to really discuss the issue, and your spouse needs to be there for that. But even in doing that, even in sitting down and being pretty serious, like, "Listen, this candy thing before supper is really bothering me. It's a serious boundary that I'm asking you to respect." Even in doing that and being so upfront with them, that really is showing love and respect because you love them enough to fight for the health of the relationship.
Yeah.
Okay? That's how much you love them. So you don't want your relationship between your in-laws to die for lack of communication. That does not help your spouse. It doesn't help your relationship with your spouse, his relationship with his parents, or your relationship with his parents. So take that time to have the communication, the hard conversations, so that the relationship doesn't die.
And we want to talk about family meeting tonight and just sit down and discuss how you each feel about your relationship with each other's parents. And maybe go through here this list of 5 things with 2 bonuses.
7 things. Stop it.
Oh yeah, 7 things.
Man, you just really can't make a mistake around this guy.
And say, hey, which one do you really excel at? Like, honey, you really excel at these words of affirmation here. You're so good at that. And have a little bit of conversation about that. But then let's flip that coin and talk about, okay, which one do we struggle with the most? Like, this is the one that you seem to have the hardest time with. Yeah, setting those boundaries. Like, you just let the in-laws walk all over you. And we've talked, we do have an episode on boundaries, and you can dive in deeper to that if you want to. But just having that conversation, and then just spend some time thanking your spouse for the ways they've shown love to your parents. Like, recognizing, man, when you went over and helped my dad with this, that meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you took my mom out and had dinner with her and just spent some time with her, that meant a lot to me. And so kind of refreshing and going over some of those things that your spouse has done for your parents and giving them the recognition that they deserve for that.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please go and subscribe to the Family Meeting Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. And if you found this information to be helpful, please share this episode on social media and invite your friends and family to listen in with you.
To find more content information Lysandra and I provide, you can go to our website, familymeeting.org. Or you can email us at info@familymeeting.org. If you'd like, you can shoot us a text or call us and send a voice message at 904-257-3062. And as we give out that information about how to contact us, we want your help and we need your help. So episode 141 is going to be a Q&A on sex.
Can't wait.
Yeah, you sound ready for it. But we need your help.
Yeah.
We need your questions. Maybe you want to send them in anonymously. We won't use your name. We won't hey, this person has this question.
John Smith wants to know about this really inappropriate thing.
Yeah. So no, it'll be confidential, but
Yep.
if there's something maybe you and your spouse have been talking about, you just want to get an outside perspective, maybe you just have a question, a thought, whatever else, feel free to shoot us that.
And your question could help someone else. So just really think about that too. The question you have may be something that somebody else is dealing with and didn't even realize that they needed that question answered. So you can really help our other listeners. And we've had some really great questions come in.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear what the rest of you have to say. But we want to invite you to join us for our next family meeting. Next week, we are going to be looking at the ways that self-preservation will destroy your relationships.
And we mentioned this at the beginning of this episode. We are selfish. We are self-focused
Everything's
by
about
nature. Now, if we choose to live that way, that's really going to destroy our marriage relationship. It's going to destroy all your relationships with your kids, with your in-laws, outlaws, everybody. So we'll look at that next time together. Thanks for joining us today for this family meeting. Have a great week, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
Ew.
And we are going to spend a little bit of time just talking with all of our viewers out here. And I figured we'd give them another 2 hours to...
You can't give them 2 hours. I have to go. Abigail's waiting for me.
So we can just spend time together.
I love spending time with you, but Abigail...
Just the two of us.
Abigail needs her mother.
I don't think she does.
You have to share.
She's old enough to learn how to make it on her own.
Sharing is important, love.
Sharing time with me is caring.
Sharing is caring. Oh, Care Bears.
Yep, you remember
Care
that?
Bear stare.
Takes you back to when they were small, huh?
Oh, man, yes.
That came out of nowhere.
That did come out of nowhere. But if you care about me or if you care about your daughter, you'll share.
Then I'm selfish.
I know.
I'm self-centered.
This will be a great example.
Self-preservation
for
mode's
next
kicking in.
Week's episode.
Well, we hope that you have a great relationship with your in-laws and a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.